Hi, everyone. I hope you had a nice week and happy Father's Day to all the dear dads. We can thank God for all the men in our church who love Jesus and set a good example for us to look up to. It has been a long time since we have been together in person. It feels like a really long time, and it might be a while before we're together in class again. You guys, I'm gonna say it every week. We really miss being with you. For you school-age kids, this might have been a really special week for you finishing up school, or maybe you have a few days left. We hope you've had a great finish to the school year, and it's officially summer now. Over these next 6 weeks, we're going to learn about a very important person in the Old Testament, David. It's neat that Pastor Dan recently finished teaching about the life of David in his sermons, so this is fresh on the minds of the grown-ups in our church. So it's neat timing that we're studying David too. Today's story is going to tell us all about how David was anointed or chosen to become Israel's next king. Remember last week when we talked about Israel's first king, Saul? Well, Saul didn't obey God, right? And it was time for God to choose a new king for Israel. God didn't choose the person anyone was expecting. One of the things I love about the story is that God didn't overlook David because he was little. David didn't let the fact that he was young and small stop him from being brave and courageous. Have you ever been left out of something because you were too little? I think we have all thought at one point or another, I wish I were bigger or taller. Did you know that what we look like, how tall or strong or fast we are, isn't what's important to God? God doesn't look at what's on the outside. He looks at what's on the inside. David was the youngest in his family. He had 7 big brothers. He was young and small, and he took care of the sheep for his family. But God saw David, and God saw that David loved him. Like in David's case, I wonder if it surprised people in his town that he would be king because he was young. He didn't look like a king, didn't seem ready. We never know what God has planned for someone else's life, or even our own, right? So we can't judge others by their outward appearance or their abilities or circumstance. This makes me think of Jesus too. When he lived on earth, he led a very humble life. He didn't have fancy clothes like a king would have. He was even born in a barn, right? But he loved people dearly, and he is the King of Kings, reigning in heaven. And for us now, we're called to value everyone around us and appreciate how wonderfully God has made them. So today, we're going to hear about how God chose David as king and how David trusted God and stood up to some very big enemies. We'll be visiting a famous story that you have probably heard before. Our key verse we're learning together is Psalm 145, verse 13. Your kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and your dominion endures through all generations. The Lord is trustworthy in all he promises and faithful in all he does. Let's praise God that he is faithful and trustworthy. While you read today's story with your family, let's see how David trusts not in his own abilities and strength, but he trusts in God. Can you think of a time when you had an opportunity to trust God, and even if you felt weak or small, you got to see God at work? I'll be looking forward to seeing you next time. Have a great week, everyone.